All right, guys, welcome to the lesson on the exponent laws, or as I have on the sheet, exponent rules. They kind of mean the same thing. We're talking about exponents in this unit, and the first thing I want to kind of go over is how do we work with exponents, and there are some exponent rules that we can consider. Up here is our, this is what our exponent looks like. The x value here is what is known as the base, and this is our exponent. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be doing some things where we take a look at what does a do, what exactly does x do, and what does the exponent do in terms of graphing and in terms of different real world examples. But for now, we're just going to worry about bases and exponents and using these rules. So the first rule is the multiplication rule. And what the multiplication rule says is that if we have a to the n times a to the m, all you're going to do is add the exponents. Now, whenever we're doing these rules, the main thing to keep in mind is that the base is the same. Okay, if the bases are not the same, then we can't use the rule. So let's do a quick example. Let's say we have 3 to the 5 times 3 to the 6. So in order to kind of combine them together, all you're going to do is add the exponents, and it becomes 3 to the 11. Okay, let's move over to the division rule because it's kind of similar. The division rule kind of looks like this, where we have a to the n divided by a to the exponent m. Now in this case, it could also look like this. So it could be written two different ways. So just keep an eye out for that. But what you're going to do is just subtract the exponents. Again, you want to make sure that you have the same base, that these are the same. Let's do an example. So let's say we have 6 to the 11 divided by 6 to the 6. All you're going to do is subtract those exponents, and you get 6 to the 5. Moving down here to the power rule. This is what happens when we have a power or an exponent on an exponent. It kind of looks like this. So a to the n to the m, and all you're going to do with this is multiply them. So you're just going to multiply the exponents in this case. For example, let's say we had 2 to the 3 to the 4. All you're going to do is take those two exponents, these two exponents here, and multiply them. So 3 times 4 makes it 2 to the 12. Moving over to the zero rule. It's one of my favorite rules, but people tend to get it wrong a couple times, so please be careful. Anything that has the exponent of 0 is always going to equal 1. So anytime the exponent is 0, the answer is 1. So for example, let's say we had 3 to the 0. It becomes 1. You also get it in some cases where, let's say you have 6 times 1.03 to the 0. This part here, which has the exponent, becomes 1. And then your whole answer is just 6. Okay, so be careful. Whenever it's a 0, the answer is 1. And the last rule that we're going to do is the negative rule. There's a couple things to keep in mind when we do the negative rule, but here's what happens. Anytime you have a negative exponent, you're going to take your base and turn it into a fraction. So it becomes 1 over a. And then just by doing that, it turns the exponent into a positive value. So I'll write that down for you. You're going to turn it into a fraction, and then the exponent becomes positive. So the exponent becomes positive. It makes a lot more sense when we do this with numbers. So let's try an example. So let's say I had 3 to the negative 2. What you're going to do is take that 3, turn it into a fraction of 1 over 3. And then the exponent then becomes 2. If you wanted to solve this further, it would just become 1 over 3 times 3, or 3 squared is 9. So your whole answer becomes 1 over 9. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting is that sometimes we have fractions that look like this. Now, what you're going to do with that is you simply flip it. So it then becomes 3 over 2. So I flipped the fraction, and then my exponent becomes positive. Anytime you also have an exponent like this and you have a fraction, the exponent is applied to all the terms. So what we're going to do with this one is it becomes 3 squared over 2 squared. And then you can simplify that and make it 9 over 4. Okay, those are the basic exponent rules, which you're going to need for today's lesson. So go ahead, have some fun, try out the examples, and if you have any questions, just let me know.